everybody, to another episode of the Defaba podcast. Here, where we talk about the development and the behavior of children. I'm your host, Dr. Lillian Kerubo. We are in a season to try and understand the causes of disabilities. Disabilities in children can lead to challenges in their behavior and in their development. And where there is understanding, there is acceptance. And where there is acceptance, there is joy and happiness. This joy and happiness does not just belong to those who are able, but even to those who are differently abled. And that's why we have these discussions and these talks on this podcast. This week, we are going to talk about trauma. And I know you've heard the term trauma in various settings. Trauma just basically means injury. It's just a fancy word for injury. Injury can happen to the physical self, to the emotional self, to the mental self, or to the social self. And so some of these injuries that are incurred by children as they are growing or developing can lead to disabilities. Due to their small stature, curiosity, and dependence on others, children are at a high risk of both physical and or psychological trauma. Okay, as we know, most children are very curious, very explorative of their environment. They can walk into a manhole. They can walk into a busy road without checking. They might be living with people who are abusive to them, and they have no escape or they have no options of leaving that situations. And all these are situations that can lead to trauma in the child, and this is trauma that can lead to disability. So let's first start talking about physical trauma. Children have a low awareness or a low perception of danger. Couple this with their high explorative and adventurous spirit means that they often participate in potentially dangerous activities such as diving, cycling, jumping, fighting, high contact sports, and they may use high speed machines. This can lead to serious injuries such as traumatic amputations, loss of eyes, spinal cord injuries, brain injuries, and severe organ damage. And this can lead to disabilities such as cerebral palsy, blindness, limb disability, paralysis, or deafness. Now, I'm not saying children should not have fun. Okay, don't get me wrong. Children should have fun. Play and sports are part of their development, and they can actually make a living, and they can share their gift with the world through certain sports and through certain dangerous activities. However, protection must be offered to these children. Caution must be maintained at all times to prevent serious injuries that can lead to disabilities in these children. Children are often under the care of parents, siblings, relatives, or guardians, some of whom may not have their best interests at heart. These are people who may expose these children to neglect, abuse, torture, defilement, or emotional abuse, and this can lead to psychological trauma. This may not lead to visible scars like the physical trauma that we talked about, but it may lead to emotional or mental handicaps such as depression, anxiety, insecurity, attachment disorder, or personality disorders. And these are things we see every day. Children who are not able to address their feelings, and they may resort to aggression, they may resort to crime, they may resort to addiction, they may resort even, unfortunately, to suicide. So all these are mental and emotional disabilities that may be inflicted either by the people they know or by the environment that they find themselves in. How can we prevent disabilities that result from trauma? Number one is to keep a very close eye on children, especially children who are ages 0 to 4, because they have a very low understanding of what is danger, of what is safe, and how to stay in a safe environment. So a close eye needs to be kept on them, and it should be a continuous close eye. I know sometimes we take children out to a pool, and we have them swim, and we are on our phones, or we are busy drinking ourselves, and so a child may be exposed to a dangerous situation without our knowledge. So it's important that children are kept a close eye on. as much as possible. And this does not have to be the responsibility of one person. It can be quite a lot. It's important that we pull together, especially as Africans, while we still have the spirit of Ubuntu and the spirit of community. Let us all be our brother's keeper and our brother's child's keeper. We need to keep the environment safe for children, so that should they venture out against our knowledge, the environment should be safe enough for them. And I know we can't make the environment 100% safe. We live in a world, so it's not going to be 100% safe. But as much as is dependent on us, let us try to keep the environment safe. Things like cordoning off swimming pools, or having a gate around before one can access the pool, and a gate that is that has a child lock, where a child who is a particular height or not a particular intellectual level may not be able to open it. Deep holes and manholes should be covered all the time. In Africa, we have parts of Kenya and parts of Africa that still access water from the wells and from deep holes, and these are holes that need to be covered. Sometimes some of these wells and some of these holes are left uncovered, and a child may stumble into the hole and either drown or get seriously hurt. We need to lock all doors that lead to the rooftops or lead to high elevation places, because these are areas that children can access without our knowledge, and they may end up getting hurt. If you live next to a busy road, then it's important that the gate stays locked constantly until a parent is able to accompany the child outside the house. We need to give our children safety gear when they're engaging in high speed and high contact sports. This may include helmets, elbow pads, knee pads. Children need to be protected if they are going to engage in such highly dangerous sports and activities. We need to screen families or homes where children live that may be vulnerable to abuse. These are families or situations that need to be followed up by the appropriate authority, so that these children are constantly evaluated, whether they are being abused, whether they are being tortured, whether they are being neglected, or whether they are being exposed to hazardous material for their mental and emotional well-being. This means that we may need to have welfare visits, which is a conversation that needs to be had, especially in Kenya. Who is authorized to conduct a welfare visit? How do you decide which home or which institution qualifies for a welfare visit? And what exactly are we looking for when we go for the welfare visits? This is to prevent children who are getting abused emotionally or mentally, and they may end up developing mental or emotional disabilities later on, which are as important, if not more important, than the physical disabilities. Thank you so much for joining us this week as we continue to shed more light on some of the causes of disability in children. Remember to comment, share, or like this episode wherever it is you are listening or watching from. And remember to reach out to us via email or via message on the links that I will provide on the show notes. Till next time.